Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Saturday, June 20th, 2020. I am Andrew Hanson alongside Sugar Shane Caldwell, and we're back for another KBO Daily podcast for the Korea Baseball Organization. And Shane, we're coming off another big night last night for our members.
Yeah, so Coach and I did the KBO podcast late last night for our members. We had some really good plays in there. And we did a lot of research, and we really liked our player pool. And then we got up at, I think it was around 3:15. I was in the Discord getting ready to start doing the research and checking the lineups, and Coach was in there. And we're in there with our members, and Coach decided to make a couple pivots on our FanDuel lineup because when the lineups come up, there was a couple guys that we really liked that were hitting higher than expected. So Siup Son from the Lotte Giants was batting third, and he normally bats, first or second. So we really liked the matchup already with him, and we liked his upside. So we threw him in there. He was $13, so pretty kind of mid-price on FanDuel. And then another big play, shout out to Coach for putting in the Doosan catcher, which is only $7 on FanDuel, and he ended up with 35.4 draft or FanDuel points last night at $7. So that was an incredible value there. So that was really good. And then we were able to fit in there Mel Rojas, who had a decent game, and Sumbum Na, two $16 and $17 players. So we ended up with a top 10% lineup with that FanDuel, and we provided that to our members, and we gave them live updates to provide the most optimal plays that we thought based on the lineups, and it ended up cashing in the top 10%, which was great. So that was just an example of what we provide for our members, that live in-depth analysis and being able to look at those lineups when they come out at like 3 a.m. in this case, or 3:15, whenever it was, and then be able to edit and provide the optimal lineup for them. So we're really happy with that, and that was great to cash because that was a pretty difficult slate last night with trying to figure out the pitchers, and there was a lot of different stuff going on there. Now tonight's slate, I think I like even more, where probably last night was more like a 3-star rating. I would probably rate this one as a 4-star as we get into this slate here. I think it's a really good slate. And I think that you agreed with me as well that this slate is probably even better than last night in terms of what we're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we can do even better than last night, which was solid. Yeah, I love this Se-Hyuk Park catcher from Doosan. I had him in the majority of my lineups, had a bunch of high finishes. So great night, and let's keep the weekend rolling. And you gave a shout out to Coach, and we should mention today, special day for him. It's his daughter's wedding day. So Coach has the day off. We hope he's having a great time. Congratulations to Coach and his daughter. But Shane and I are here for the Saturday slate. Sunday morning games are going to start at 4 a.m. And before we get started, I want to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our two sponsors, mybookie.ag and TVG. Now, why would you be interested in hearing about these sponsors? Well, I'm going to give you a couple reasons. With mybookie.ag, if you go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, and then sign up at mybookie.ag, you get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. You also get a $25 free play. And that's great because mybookie.ag is where you can go for all your sports wagering and casino action. So we invite you to do that at our website. And then TVG, that's where the world watches and wagers on horse racing. And they are offering our members a $300 risk-free bet. So again, go to our website. You can click the link there and sign up. It's a risk-free bet. If you lose your $300 bet, they refund it. So it's a great option if you want to get involved in some horse racing. Now, speaking of mybookie.ag, Shane, that's where I've gone to pick up the odds on these matchups tonight. 5 games in the KBO as usual. And we're starting out with Hanwha at the Dinos. And the NC Dinos are big favorites, minus 238, over under 10.5. And this is a really interesting matchup because the Dinos have a pitcher whose minimum price on DraftKings, Jin-Ho Kim, he's only $4,000. Hanwha's pitcher has given up 9 home runs, which is a ton in 36 innings. So I know you're going to be interested in these Dinos bats going against Min-Woo Kim and his ERA over 5. But then the second question is going to be, are you also interested in this minimum price pitcher for the Dinos?
Yeah, he's piquing my interest. He's kind of Jin Ho Kim is kind of a young phenom. I believe he's only 18 years old, and he's been kind of going back and forth to doing some relief pitching. They'll send him back down for a little more work in the Futures League. But he is a star pitcher, and he's done really well. In minimal play. He hasn't played that much, but the last game he played there, he did pitch 4 innings, but I think he's going to ramp it up and get hopefully 5 or 6 innings in this time. So with getting 5 or 6 innings, I think that he can do well in this matchup. It's a pretty easy matchup compared to the last time he was out. It was against Kiwoom. So I do like him at $4,000 minimum, and he only needs about 12 to 15 fantasy points on DraftKings to pay off value. The crazy thing is, which is kind of comical, is he's the most expensive pitcher on FanDuel at $30, which is weird. So I guess the FanDuel algorithm factors in that they're heavy favorites and he's more likely to get a win or something like that. But that's crazy that he's $30 on FanDuel, but $4,000 minimum on DraftKings. But at that price, he's one of the more intriguing prospects for a minimal price and allows a lot of roster flexibility there. So I think he's definitely worth playing on DraftKings here.
Yeah, FanDuel knows that they're going against Hanwha, the team that's 10-31. We've been attacking them with pitchers for a couple weeks now, and I agree. I'm hoping that he gets another inning or two after that start against Kiwoom. He went 69 pitches when he went 4 1/3. He got 5 strikeouts. So if we can get 6 innings out of him, another 5 or 6 strikeouts, he's definitely going to pay off that value. So how about these hitters for the Dinos? Like I said, Min-Woo Kim has given up a ton of bombs, 3 straight games with at least 2 home runs allowed.
Yeah, I mean they're a little more. Their big name guys are a little expensive on DraftKings, but you're going to be able to get them in there if you play their pitcher. And I really like their 2, 3, and 4 hitter on FanDuel because the probability of those guys getting a home run. Being that they're power hitters, they hit for great average, really high average, and power, and they're going up against a pitcher who gives up a lot of power hits, a lot of home runs. So I like for the value play, Myung Ji Lee. He's a lefty with the platoon advantage going up against this pitcher Kim for Hanwha. So Myung Ji Lee batting second. He plays left field. He's only $9 on FanDuel. So I think that's a great value. And he's only $3,600 on DraftKings. So I think that's a great value. Then you have their guy that's probably been their best player this year is Jay King. And Jay King plays first base, and he's $15 on FanDuel. And this is one of the nights that's probably worth paying $15 for him on FanDuel. And he's really good even against righties. He's bats for a really high average. I think he's over 400 and definitely has power, and he's $5,000 on DraftKings. And of course, Sung Bum Na is one of the better power hitters in this league, and he's expensive on DraftKings, but I think he might be worth paying up for at $6,400. Normally $6,400, you kind of do a double take and say, I don't know if it's worth it, but I think he's worth it. And $17 on FanDuel, I have no issue paying up for him. So if you want to stack those guys, running that 2, 3, 4 for the Dinos in this great matchup, and they're huge favorites with a pretty high over-under, that's a great play tonight. And I really like it on FanDuel. Where DraftKings, I think it's still a good viable strategy, but I just like the power upside on FanDuel, and the pricing is, you can get the 2 hitter there, Lee, in there for $9. I think it's a great value. So are you kind of on the same page there, or were some other kind of guys that you were looking at?
Similar. I'm definitely going to get multiple bats out of this lineup. I looked at their matchup against Kim earlier this season, and Na went 2 for 3, so I will pay the $6,400 for him. Kang went 1 for 2. He got hit by a pitch, and it's unfortunate that finally he's up to 5K because we've been playing him when he's been a lot cheaper. Finally, his production, his price is catching up to his production, but I'll get him out there as well. As you mentioned, he's been awesome against righties and lefties.
Yep.
At the very top of the order, I kind of prefer Min-Woo Park in the leadoff spot. He went 2 for 3 against Kim but he's 5,700 as a second baseman. It's the most expensive he's been all season. So, maybe I'll build one lineup with him in there, but I'd rather spend 5,700 on one of these stud outfielders that we're going to talk about later in the slate. So I'm not as into Emily because he went 0 for 3 against Kim, but he's been really hot lately. So
I think he's in better form lately.
He's in much better form.
Yep. Yeah, because the BVP stat is kind of like it doesn't always hold true,
Of course,
looking at the matchup, it's good to look at. It's a good indicator, but a lot of things can change in between those matchups too.
Yeah, especially for a guy like him, he's more of like a singles doubles hitter. So lefty against a righty, it's just more. It is more about his current form. I agree. One other note, I'll say on Suckman Park, who's also expensive, 5,200. He's been struggling a little bit lately, but he did hit a home run against Kim last year, and he's got to get back into form here soon enough. So he's an option for a really low ownership because he's been struggling and because his price is so high.
Yeah, and he's butt down in there typically in the 7 hole now because he hasn't been playing as well. Yep.
Right. All right, let's go to game 2. This is Lotte against the KT Wiz. Lotte had that surprising 8-0 shutout last night behind Samson. And tonight, Lotte is going to send Kyung Eun No to the mound. He's given up 6 home runs. He has an ERA over 5. Are you interested in these KT Wiz bats with that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, mostly just the big boppers in that lineup there, which we've been playing them a lot. There, it's no secret. Mel Rojas Jr. and Backhoe Kang are 2 guys that Rojas Jr. is a switch hitter, but they can both bat left-handed for power, super high average, a lot of RBIs. These guys are just you can't really. It's hard to pitch around them because they protect each other there, batting the 3-4 hole. And they have some other good hitters around them as well, right after him with Hanjo Jun Yo. So I really like those guys. Mel Rojas Jr. his price has been pretty stable on DraftKings at only $5,600. So he's pretty good value at $5,600 considering what he's been doing. Backhoe Kang, his prices went up a little bit. He's a $6,000 guy. Now Backhoe Kang you can get at $16 on FanDuel, or Mel Rojas Jr. $17 on FanDuel. So yeah, I would say this is a perfect opportunity for like a one-off guy. I like taking one or the other. So I would probably take Backhoe Kang on FanDuel at $16 and Mel Rojas Jr. probably on DraftKings at $5,600 as a one-off to combine with these other stacks that we really like. If I'm going to go with the KT Wiz, and that's kind of where I'm at with the KT Wiz here.
Yeah, and I'm willing to stack 3 of those lefties against No. Lefties are hitting 306 against him this year with 3 homers. So Joe at 2,800 batting in that 1 or 2 hole, and then Rojas and Kang. I'll make at least one lineup with all 3 of those guys, and then otherwise probably have at least one of Rojas or Kang. And then HU is worth mentioning because he's in the heart of the order. He's 3,600, and on the season he's batting 295 with 5 homers and 14 RBI. He gets overlooked a little bit because of Rojas and Kang, but somebody to keep in mind. Now, on the flip side, Cuevas is pitching for KT, and when he faced Lotte earlier this season, he got hit around a little bit. 5 innings, 6 earned runs, gave up a homer to Hoon Jung. So how about some of these Lotte bats tonight?
Yeah, speaking of Hoon Jung, he's typically batting 5th here, and he's only $9 on FanDuel. So if you want to be able to get a power bat in a great matchup here, $9 on FanDuel, that allows you a lot of flexibility. And then Doho Lee, the veteran cleanup hitter there, he's only $10 on FanDuel. He also can hit for power. And down in the 5 hole, Dixon Machado, who's also pretty solid at $10 as well. And then you can get up to the 3 slot there, Jun Woo Jeon, who's been really good. He's only $12. And then the guy that really hit big for us last night, Asyap Son, will probably be batting somewhere in the 2 to 3 range, just depending on when the lineup comes out. He's only $13 on FanDuel. And then these guys are ranging from $3,800 into the mid $4,000 range on DraftKings. So they're all affordable and they all have extremely high upside. Save Us gives up a lot of power, a lot of runs, a lot of home runs, so he's really susceptible to the long ball here. So I really like these guys on DraftKings as mid-price, but I really like them for value on FanDuel to get high upside with the power. And you can combine those with a couple of the NC Dinos guys, for example. Even if you're paying up for some of them now, you can afford to do that because these guys are $9 to $10 in $12, $13 range. They're pretty affordable. So you can really build a powerful lineup on FanDuel if you look at just the Lotte Giants and the NC Dinos there. So if you combine those two on FanDuel, I really like focusing on them. And there's one other team I'll talk about later that I like for FanDuel bats tonight. But you definitely want to focus on you could stack pretty much all the way 2 through 6 is just completely loaded here.
Yeah, I even like the leadoff guy tonight, B. Min, outfielder. Yep. He's 3,600 on DraftKings. He went 2 for 3 against Cuevas this season with a double. So for me, 1 through 6 is worth looking at for a big stack or 1 or 2 value plays because they are priced well on both sites. So I think Lotte could be an important piece of a lineup on both sites tonight.
Definitely.
All right, game 3 is Doosan against LG. Doosan had a solid win last night, 8-2 over Casey Kelly and LG. And tonight they are minus 142 favorites on mybookie.ag with an over-under of 9.5. They've got Alcantara going up against an 18-year-old for LG, who's a big prospect, Min-Ho Lee. And this is a really exciting matchup. This is a guy with an ERA of 1.16. He's pitched 23 1/3 innings this year. He's given up 0 home runs, which is basically unheard of in this league. But he's got to go up against the left-handed sluggers of Doosan that we love. I certainly love, and we all play a lot. So let's start with that matchup right there. The 18-year-old righty against the Doosan lefties. What do you think about that matchup tonight?
This Min-Ho Lee, they've been giving him a lot of rest in between starts. So he's almost like a young prospect phenom starter that starts like every other start compared to normal. But that's good because his last 2 outings, he's went over 100 or more pitches. He's went 7 innings. And he's averaging in those games, 7 strikeouts, so a strikeout per inning. So that's really solid production there. And he's giving up almost 0 runs there. I mean, obviously 1.16 ERA. So this guy, I think, is poised for a big pitching outing here. And I think he's that talented that he could actually still do good against the Doosan Bears. The Doosan is a scary lineup, and typically you don't want to play pitchers against them. But I think his price on DraftKings in particular at 7,200 is very attractive to me as a mid price there that could have high upside. Because if this guy he has a pretty good chance of getting the win because I think LG can get some hits against Alcantara and get some runs against him. So if he can get the win and go 7 innings, even if he gives up a few runs, he's going to get some strikeouts in there as well. I think this is a solid play, and I think that maybe the ownership will be a little bit lower because this guy isn't as proven, and they're worried about the matchup with the Doosan Bears. But people looking at his last 2 games though are going to be interested in him a little bit. But yeah, so I'm comfortable playing Min-Ho Lee, even though it does make you a little nervous going against the Doosan Bears here. I think you fire him up there. So what about you? Are you risky enough to take a chance with him?
Well, you know me, I make multiple lineups, and so I will make at least one lineup with him in there because, those numbers for an 18-year-old are just too good. Yeah. But it's not like I'm not going to play Doosan bats in some of my lineups. We've got Se-Hyuk Park, the catcher we talked about at the intro, who had that terrific night with 2 hits, 4 RBI, including a bases clearing double last night. So he's feeling good. He's only 3,000. And then Jay Cha, the guy we've talked about almost every day on this podcast because of his price and his production, is just phenomenal. He's back up to 2,300. Big Big price increase there for DraftKings.
Yeah, exactly.
We joke about it. He's been ranging between about 2,000 and 2,600, and he'll have a home run, and they'll drop his. He had three games in a row with over 20 fantasy points, and his price kept dropping.
I didn't get it at all. It was hilarious.
So now he's 2,300 in the middle of the lineup as a lefty. So he's just been too hot. So I'll certainly have some exposure to him. These other guys, they all have seen Min-Ho Lee now because he faced them twice earlier in the season in relief. He pitched a total of 4 innings over 2 appearances. He only gave up 3 hits, no runs. So they've seen him. They haven't had success against him. And that's why it's just going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. Now that he's got to go through the lineup 2 or 3 times, and they've seen him once before, so they have a sense of what to expect. It's going to be a fun matchup. So,
yeah, I mean, that young of a guy going up against this like veteran lineup is just going to be an interesting chess match tonight there. But I do like his chances here. But yeah, I could see where those guys like Cha and Hyde Park, because they're so cheap and they got the platoon advantage and they're in really good form right now in terms of the just really hot bats. Those guys are worth taking. But yeah, like I said, I really like the LG pitcher. What about the LG bats here? What do you think about them? Do you trust them against Alcantara?
Yeah, I don't know if I would go so far as to say trust.
Yeah, exactly.
This is another interesting chess match because Alcantara is a power pitcher, but lefties are hitting 304 against him. H. Kim hit a home run against him last year. And H. Kim didn't look great to me last night. He's kind of pulling off pitches a lot. He seems frustrated. Ramos, he just missed a home run last night. He hit 1 foul. So his numbers in the last couple of games haven't been great, but he's hit some fly balls where he just missed them. So I can't go through a slate, where Ramos is facing a righty and not get some exposure to him. But he's not a core guy. Neither one of those guys are core guys for me. They're just guys you got to make sure to play at least once. And we should mention Young Tech Park. He's down to 2,000. He had a game with 4 hits. So he keeps getting on base here recently. It's more, he's more of a singles and doubles hitter at this stage of his career, as we've talked about. But again, if you need to save money, as an outfielder for 2,000 who knows how to get on base as well as anybody, he's worth a look.
Yeah, I also like LG's leadoff hitter. He's also a lefty if you want a value play. So he's, batting leadoff, platoon advantage, and he's only $9 on FanDuel, and he's 2,900 on DraftKings right now. And he had a rough game last night, but before that, he's on quite a good hitting streak there. I think it was at least 5 or 6 game hitting streak. So I do like him because of the price is so low. I think he can get to Alcantara as well. Ramos, I feel like I'm a broken record every single night. I say this guy's due for a home run. He's one of the best power hitters in the league, and he's just been cold lately. But unfortunately, that's kind of what you have to do. You have to risk playing a guy like that because people are going to look at his game log and see he's basically like 0-3, 0-3, 6. Like that's what you'll see if you look at his game log. You're like, oh, I'm not going to pay for that guy. 5,200 for a guy that's just completely cold right now. But like you said, sometimes these hitters just go through those little mini slumps, and it's only a matter of just one swing of the bat for this guy to get him out of that slump, So he's the type of guy that, yeah, if you want to gain an advantage, I think you're going to get him pretty low. I think that might get him closer to 15 to 20% ownership, where typically he's like 30 to 40% ownership. So tonight's the night if you want to get him at lower ownership because of all the other plays on here. And he's still reasonably priced on DraftKings at 5,200. He's not as high as the other power guys that are closer to 6,000. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, we got 2 games to go. Before we get to game 4, just want to ask a quick favor. If you could, wherever you're listening, give us a thumbs up, 5-star review. We appreciate that support. You can find us on social media. Shane is on Twitter at DET Sports Shane. That's like Detroit. So DET Sports Shane. You can find me on Twitter at Language Olympic. Our team is on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. And our coach, Joe Sarvadi, is on Twitter at JoeSarvadi. We're also on Instagram. You can see pictures of our winning lineups there. That's DFS underscore Coach Talk. That's it. That's the social media piece. So let's jump to the final two games here. Shane, game 4 is SK traveling to Kiwoom. Kiwoom, the big favorite at home, minus 196, and that's because they have a gentleman named Eric Jokic who's going to toe the rubber tonight. A lefty. He's 5-2 with a 1.68 ERA. His WHIP is still under 1, despite a down performance from his standards last time out against Lotte. As I mentioned on the podcast the next day, it was unlucky with pass balls and guy stealing second, and Dongwon Park threw the ball off of second base. It hit the base before the runner got there. So if there had been a fielder there to catch the ball and apply the tag, he would have gotten out of it. But instead, 2 runners scored on the play. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a perfect throw. It just had a bad bounce.
Yeah. So that's what happened to him last night. So you know he's going to be fired up, and he gets SK tonight, 12-28. Is Jokic a plug and play for you?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the game log, the last 3 games, not really great, and that's kind of when I like to buy low on these guys. So so I would definitely. I'm looking to plug Jokic in on Fanduel. He's $28. He's not the most expensive, but he's not cheap by any means. But you got enough value plays there. So I just like his bet. I like his potential here to get the win. I like his potential again. I talk about that. Get the quality start. If he gets the win and quality start, it's 10. That's going to be 10 points right there on FanDuel. And then I also like him to get in that range of hopefully 6 or more strikeouts and to go 6 or more innings here. And if he can just give up, hopefully only less than 2 runs probably is what I'm looking at. So I'm good. I'm comfortable with Jokic. Probably the most comfortable guy. And you can certainly play him on DraftKings since you got to play 2 pitchers and pair him with one of those other value guys we're talking about. He's 9,100 on DraftKings. $28 on FanDuel. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to overthink it, even though he's been a little cold these last few starts. I want to play Jokic, I think, in a good matchup, and I think he'll get back to form here. And that's kind of where I'm at with this matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then on the flip side, let's talk about Pinto here. This is a right-hander who does not give up home runs. He's only given up 1 in 46 innings this year. He's facing a tough Kiwoom lineup, and when they faced off earlier this year, he did not do well. 4 1/3, 7 earned runs, 9 hits, but as usual, no home runs. So it was doubles day. Jung-Ho Lee had 2 doubles against him. Dongwon Park had a double. Hae-Sung Kim, the cheaper middle infielder, went 2 for 2 with a walk. Ha-Seong Kim, the more expensive one, 1 for 2 with a walk. What are your thoughts on these bats? Are you going to build a stack with them or a one-off here and there?
Yeah, so specifically on FanDuel, I was avoiding stacking the Kiwoom because Pinto doesn't have the tendency to give up a lot of home runs. And again, I'm trying to get some, 2 or 3 home runs on FanDuel. I mean, and then go with the Jokic as the pitcher here. So I do like Jung-Ho Lee. His price is stable at $14 on FanDuel, and I think he's a great value at that. And he's the type of guy that's got power. Yeah, and he just bats for a really high average, and he definitely hits a lot of doubles. So, and he's one of the guys that'll have the platoon advantage here. Just because some of those other guys, the Park, Dongwon Park and Byung-Ho Park are a little bit more home run dependent. So I would probably be most interested in the 2-3 hitters. Ha-Seong Kim, he is expensive. But I can see him having a decent game in terms of just getting a lot of doubles, singles, that type, getting on the bags. And then Jung-Ho Lee is, their best hitter overall. I'm comfortable with him. So I'm looking at more like a one-off here. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of exposure, being that Pinto's a pretty solid pitcher and he's hard to get high upside against.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to stack these guys as much because I don't think it's going to be a home run fest. But Ha-Seong Kim is very good against righties. Hasn't been good against lefties, actually. So don't worry about the righty-righty matchup there. And Jung-Ho Lee on DraftKings is cheaper now. He's $4,900. He's been around $5,200 to $5,400. So I like that savings. I'll get him in some lineups on DraftKings. He's probably my 4th or 5th favorite outfielder, but I just can't pass him up at $4,900. And Hae-Sung Kim, the cheaper middle infielder, He'll be in the player pool as well, just because of that position versatility, second base, shortstop. He's only 2,700. He's got pretty reliable to at least get on base once or twice. So he'll be in the player pool as well. All right, Shane, let's go to game 5 here of this Sunday KBO slate. We've got Samsung against Kia. Kia won last night 6-3 behind a big grand slam from MU. And tonight, they have the most expensive pitcher on the board on DraftKings, Hyunjin Yang, a left-hander going. This guy makes $1.9 million, which is a ton of money in the KBO. Yeah. Listen to these splits. Lefties this year are hitting .205 against him with 1 homer. Righties are hitting .234 against him with 3 homers. So he's going up against Samsung, who's been trending in the right direction, but he's just been excellent, and he has a history of that. Last year, 163 strikeouts in 184 innings. It's one of the best strikeout ratios you'll see in the KBO. It only gave up 6 homers in 184 innings. So a lot to like about him. He's going to be in a bunch of my lineups. How about you? You also supporting that play?
Yeah, I think that I still on FanDuel. So Hyunjin Yang here for Kia, the pitcher. He is $28 on FanDuel, and Eric Jokic from Kiwoom is also $28. Now I like the matchup for Jokic a little better going against SK compared to Samsung going up against Yang here for Kia, because I feel like Samsung is heating up a little bit, and they tend to be batting better. Their batters are a little bit better right now compared to early in the year. You could run right through them. But this guy does have the upside. He went up against SK his last start, and he had 10 strikeouts. So he went 7 innings with 10 strikeouts. So he's got monster upside here. So you definitely have to mix him in. I would say definitely, mix him in on DraftKings as well. He's a good guy that you could pair with that $4,000 pitcher from the Dinos that we like, because you're paying $9,700 on DraftKings, so he's expensive considering there's some other guys in there in the mid range. So he's another great option for pitchers here. So where last night slate it was tricky with pitcher, tonight there's some great options, and you have a variety of price points. So great for lineup construction here. So that's kind of where I'm at with Yang. I think I don't know that he's necessarily a slam dunk here, but he is probably the highest upside pitcher on the slate. But I think Samsung is looking up. Not that I'm brave enough to play a bunch of their hitters tonight or anything, but they're good enough where they can get some runs against this guy.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yep. Now on the flip side, we've got Young Hyun Baek, a lefty, going up against Kia. Now the heart of their order does include a couple lefties, and Mr. Tucker owned Mr. Beck earlier this season. He hit 2 homers against him. He went 3 for 3 with 2 homers in this matchup. He's 5,600 on DraftKings, so he'll definitely be in my player pool. Now, Beck is a guy who had better numbers last year than how he started out this year. He has been getting better. His last 2 starts, he's combined for 11 innings, only 2 earned runs. But as I mentioned, Kia really hit him around in that first matchup. So I really like Tucker here. You like anybody else for Kia?
Yeah, Ed Tucker on the list. I like their leadoff hitter, Ho Rayong Kim. He's $3,700 on DraftKings there, so I think he's a good DraftKings play. And then I like their cleanup hitter, Ji Wan Na. He's always pretty affordable, only $9 on FanDuel there. So he's got power for that, and Bach likes to give up a lot of home runs. A lot of power here. So I really like Ji Wan Na, even though he hasn't been that hot lately. And then the catcher, especially on DraftKings where you have to play a catcher, I think you're going to be able to get pretty good upside out of S. Han tonight in this matchup. He's only $3,300 on DraftKings. So catchers are kind of hard to come by. I know there was a couple other guys we liked, but they're pretty hard to come by, being that, DraftKings, you have to play those certain positions, where FanDuel, you have much more flexibility, position flexibility with utility spots and outfield, infield. So that plays into the strategy. But yeah, I think G1 Na, I would definitely like him. And him and Tucker, for example, on FanDuel, both have that home run upside against a pitcher that has the tendency to give up a lot of home runs. So the theme there is for FanDuel, I really like stacking or at least having a couple guys from Kia, this team, from the NC Dinos and the Lotte Giants. And they're all going against pitchers that give up a ton of runs. They give up a lot of walks, so a lot of base runners, and they give up home runs and hit for power. So that's a good recipe for success there to have that higher upside with these plays. So if you focus on those guys for FanDuel, yeah, I think you'll be in pretty good shape here.
That's right. We love those home runs. And we also think that a great recipe for success for our listeners is to join us as members. So we invite you to do that. Go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com. Pick up a monthly or annual membership. If you get the monthly membership right now, that carries you all the way through the end of August. So you're basically getting 2.5 months for the price of one. We're not starting the clock on that until the NBA starts on July 30th. So you're going to get all this free KBO content and PGA content in the interim. We do 6 KBO podcasts a week, 2 PGA podcasts a week, and every night we're in Discord. It's 4 a.m. Eastern start tonight, so we'll be in there at 3:30 a.m. Making lineup adjustments if necessary, and we give our members a full lineup on FanDuel and a player pool on DraftKings. So, like I said, we'd love to have you as members. Come and join the family. That's about it, Shane. Any final thoughts here?
No, I think we're set up for a really good slate. So yeah, definitely, come and join us. Like Andrew was saying, if you sign up for that membership, that's going to get you NBA content, which is coming up, which we're really good at, and you're going to get all kinds of good research and analysis and lineups included in the PGA, which they have a lot of good slates of the PGA, and the KBO, which is almost every single night. So you're going to get a lot of action to keep you entertained and definitely win some money, especially being that, the major sports haven't started up yet. And then before you know it, we'll get into NBA, which we're going to be ready to crush in NBA. And then we'll roll right into NFL from there. So definitely jump on board. It's a great community. We're all, big time sports fans, especially fantasy sports in there. And you have access to all of us pros that we do a ton of research and just really can help you out. And it saves you a lot of time. You don't have to sit there and spend several hours doing the research, because we can take all that research and analysis and experience that we put into it and condense it down and give you the Cliff Notes version and make it easier for you to win money without having to spend several hours. Because, who wants to spend several hours on research besides us,
Well, that's the thing, especially with the KBO. It's really hard to keep track of everything with the, the names and the lineup changes and the time difference. And we think we do it better than anybody. So we hope you'll join us and try to take advantage of that knowledge that we've been building up. We've covered every single slate in the KBO this year. So want to say one more time, congratulations to Coach, and his favorite charity is mambaon3.org. So feel free to go check that out at mambaontree.org. And this is it for the weekend for us. We'll be back on Monday for another KBO show. And we do that Monday through Saturday, and we do golf Wednesday, Friday. So thank you all so much for joining us. On behalf of Sugar Shane Caldwell, I am Andrew Hanson, and we'll catch you again next time on DFS Coach Talk.